of all, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me in your shop.
Yeah, I think it's very brave you came. The last guy who came, he didn't win. So
In retrospect, he won more than we think he
I think
was.
so. I think so.
He's changing the country.
When you look at policy now in terms of the rhetoric that comes out of both parties, it's more to what he did. So I guess let me open up by asking you this. When I met, of course, we're talking about the person that has endorsed you.
Yes.
The person I have an unlikely kinship or friendship to is Senator Bernard Sanders or Bernie Sanders. He's publicly endorsed you. He's come down, been in the same room, and will be down this weekend. I sat here and I talked to him when I didn't know him and I didn't know much about him. But I grew up in a city that was affected by civil rights and black leadership. And at the pinnacle of that, the recognition of human rights, Dr. Martin Luther King, he, unlike any other politician, mirrored some of those things in a way that I've never seen a politician mirror. And it's unique because I've been in Atlanta 42 years, because I'm 42 years old, but for 44 years we've had black mayoral leadership.
That's right.
Well, with Sanders, what he ran on made me feel like what King said was possible. And a lot of the things that you say do the same thing. Is this run for you a serious mayoral run, or is it an opportunity to influence government much like Sanders has done?
Well, I'm running because I believe I can win. It's a very serious operation for me. At the same time, we're running a different kind of campaign. Just like Senator Sanders, his campaign was more of a movement than it was a conventional campaign. Same thing with me. But I wanting to not only win an election, but I want to change the city. And I think the reason that I'm running is because I think I have something unique to bring to the table. You know, I tell people, if you want somebody who's going to do business as usual down at City Hall, you got 11 other candidates to vote for.
Okay.
Me, I'm different.
Let me ask you, how have you been different that I and that people like me and that people out of the activist community in Atlanta?
Yes, sir.
You know, because I know you from the 90s from fighting some fights, and the fights that you fought were even prior to you being a politician. What makes you different than the 11 other candidates, and what makes you effective in terms of being different? What successes have you had?
Well, the thing that makes me different is that you could look at my history before I was elected and in the last 21 years as a state senator, and things that I've done on a daily basis on big issues and small issues are issues that reflect that I do things differently. For example, you know, in the last 10 years, Atlanta has become increasingly gentrified, gone from 10 to 20% gentrified to now it's about 70% gentrified, depending on what research you look at. Well, back in the 90s and 2000s, I was fighting to make sure that our neighborhoods were protected from the big banks that were doing predatory lending. You know, it was the toughest fight of my life. I went up against Wall Street, and I'm talking about the banks, the rating agencies, the people, the most powerful institutions in the world, to protect black wealth. You know, most of our wealth as African Americans is in the homes that we own. Yeah. And what you had in the 2000s in predatory lending is the greatest movement of black wealth outside of our community in the history of this country since slavery. Yeah. So I fought, along with Roy Barnes, to pass the strongest anti-predatory lending law in the country.
And that's our former governor, Roy.
Yes, to stabilize our neighborhoods. What was going on at City Hall was that folk allowed this city to go gentrified. While I'm fighting to stabilize our neighborhoods so that people of color can stay in those neighborhoods, you have folk just looking the other way, not concerned about it. As a matter of fact, there are cities in the metro Atlanta area that sued the banks because of the impact of predatory lending. Cobb County even. Guess what city did it sue? City of Atlanta. Did not sue the banks for the impact of subprime lending taking wealth out of our communities.